A bump on the road. "You're bailing on us?" Kian and I exclaimed. It was Thursday afternoon, and we had just finished our last class. Our clique of 4 was supposed to go grocery shopping together in preparation for our road trip tomorrow at dawn. However, half of the group, which comprised the twins named Brianna and Blair, were suddenly calling us off. "Sorry guys," Blair muttered. "Mom and Dad surprised us with tickets to a sold-out musical and we can't resist." I pouted, visibly upset, because we had been anticipating this day for a while. "Don't worry, we can go again next month, as a group this time around. You guys should go ahead and explore the road without us first," Brianna suggested. Kian and I looked at each other. Although we were downcasted at first, our faces instantly lighted up at the thought of a fun road trip and ending up on a beautiful beach. "I'm good," I said. I high-fived Kian, who looked elated. "It's going to be the best weekend ever," gloated Kian. "You'll see. We don't need you to have fun." Blair and Brianna looked at each other pointedly, as if having a conversation with their eyes. It was the same look they had whenever they were scheming something. "We bet you would," they said in unison. Kian picked me up a little past 4 o'clock a.m. the next day. We had gone grocery shopping before, alongside the twins, who somehow felt guilty and thought accompanying us would compensate. I hopped in his beautiful red Ford car with a sunroof, smiling. It was indeed a bummer that Brianna and Blair could not join us, but I also saw the silver lining. Kian and I would spend more time together and get to know each other better. Although we all considered ourselves best friends, a little time for individual bonding could not hurt. "All goods, Ro?" smirked Kian. He had the rugged, boyish look that everyone seemed to love. He was so charming and it came so naturally to him. How I still managed to keep my cool around him after years, I did not know. "With you, I'm forever good," I smirked right back. Two could play this game. Between the 4 of us, I always found Kian to have the best ride. Not only was he an excellent driver, but he had immaculate music taste, so I loved riding with him. I knew this time would not be an exception, and I was absolutely right. From the get-go, he turned up the music and we jammed on, singing along as if our life depended on it. Not much words were exchanged, but quite frankly, we did not need to. Our actions spoke enough. We were having the time of our lives. "I'm looking at you and my heart loves the view," we sang in unison, jamming to High School Musical 3's soundtrack. "'Cause you mean everything to me." I do not know what came over him, but very subtly he put his large hand over mine, as if it was resting on my lap. I stared at our overlapping hands for a moment, enjoying the warmth. I grinned to myself and I thought I never wanted this moment to end. We sang for hours, bopping the Disney music that gave me butterflies in my stomach. Every now and then Kian would look over at me and we would make eye contact while singing a particularly sweet line. In those fleeting glances, I drowned in his eyes, and we existed in our own little bubble. After a few hours of drive, we reached our first destination. It was a unique rock formation that was shaped like a massive heart, and rightfully so. It was named the Rock of Aphrodite, the goddess of love. We hopped out of the car and breathed in the fresh air. It was always nice taking long drives down south, as we were treated on a glorious view of the ocean. There was a throng of tourists near the rock, so side by side we strolled towards it. "Enjoying yourself?" asked Kian, as he wrapped his arm around my shoulder. I leaned against him, relishing his warmth once more. He always expressed himself through physical touch, but I never realized how much I enjoyed it until today. "Never better," I said, smiling up at him. "Ah, young love," muttered a croaky voice behind us. It was an old lady and her husband gazing at us with admiration. "Look at you two, adorable couple, aren't they?" Her husband agreed, smiling at us. Just as I was about to interrupt and preface that we were not a couple, Kian clasped my shoulder and looked pointedly at me before thanking the couple. I stifled my smile, those butterflies in my stomach's going crazy once more. "Can we help you take a photo together?" asked the old man. I readily agreed, playing along with Kian's antics. The old man snapped some pictures as Kian and I posed, his arms still wrapped around my shoulder. Boldly I kissed him on the cheek, making the onlookers look at us in awe and making Kian flush. After thanking the old couple profusely, we relaxed at the scenery for a few moments before heading back to the car. "We were mistaken for a couple, can you believe it?" I remarked as we settled back in our seats. "We look like one," replied Kian. "But we're not," I playfully replied. "We could be," joked Kian as we drove away. We switched seats as it was my turn to drive for the second leg of the trip. Only as we started driving away, once again did I realize that maybe he was not joking after all. Shortly after, Kian fell asleep. Unbeknownst to him, I found the slight drool adorable and chuckled at the sight of him drifting to sleep. I pulled over to the side momentarily and snapped a photo of him, giggling at it, and readying to tease him with it later on. He snapped awake an hour later and pouted as I told him all about the picture I had taken and sent to the twins, who were entertained by his very sleepy face. We stopped at the convenience store and the gas station to grab a meal, as it was nearing night anyway. We had been driving for almost 12 hours and had only packed meals as lunch. At the convenience store, we grabbed plenty of snacks and sat on the curbside, observing the highway and watching cars come and go. "I can live on the road forever," I muttered randomly as I gobbled down my Span Masubi. "Can you?" "Sure, with the right person," he replied. I continued chewing before I felt his gaze on me. Our eyes met and I smiled. He grinned right back, looking down on an invisible spot on the ground. That moment, it started raining cats and dogs. It was so out of the blue, and even in seconds, parts of us were soaked. We sought shelter for a few minutes, unspeaking and observing the rain plodding on the ground. "Wanna go for it?" he questioned. "No, you go," I squealed, unwilling to get soaked to the bone. "You're no fun, Ro. Let's go," Kian called out as he stood out in the pouring rain. The car was all to the other end, and he could technically go for it and come back for me, and I would be safe in the rain. But then he extended his hand, waiting for me to grab it, and I could not resist. I relished the pelting rain on my skin and squealed at the coldness. His hand, as always, was warm. "I've always wanted to dance in the rain, but I hate getting wet," I exclaimed. "It's our chance," he said as he pulled me for one of those cheesy traditional dance. I did not mind, though, as I grooved with him, the rain harshly pouring down on us. After our gas station shenanigans, we swiftly went back to the car where we dried ourselves before driving off for about an hour more. We finally reached the beach where we would only be staying for about a night before going on a road trip back. Fortunately, it was not pouring there and we immediately settled in the cabin, a small room with only one bed. "I'm sorry as you had given up your initial reserved room with 2 bunk beds. We only have this room with 1 king-size bed to offer you," said the landlady. Kian looked at me for approval, and I nodded. "It's fine, we'll take it." That was how we ended up sharing a bed, but we did not immediately rest, as we wanted to go for a night swim before we settled down. Whipping out our snacks and some drinks that we bought earlier, we sat on the beach and watched a few groups of tourists had bonfires, and went for night swims. "How unfortunate that Blair and Brianna couldn't join," I mumbled as we watched the night sky together. "But I'm glad to be here with you, Kian." "Me too," he said sincerely, reaching for my hand and squeezing it. "I've been wanting to bond with you for a while. You're just fascinating to me." I sat up, staring at his eyes and searching for any signs of ingenuity, but to no avail. "Oh yeah? Why's that?" I questioned. "I don't know, Ro. I've been asking myself the same question since I met you. You have these quirks and what you call flaws that make you uniquely you, and I wish you saw how amazing you are." I could not believe my ears. Could he be confessing to me? He was bolder than ever in his actions, but actions were one thing. They could be misleading. But now he was straight up complimenting me. But I dismissed the notion in denial that we could both be gay and that we have fallen for each other. I decided to go with a safe answer, thanking him and saying he was an amazing friend. Did I just friend-zone him? We decided to play cards while we continued to snack. Uno was not that fun, but with Kian, everything we do is fun. I could sit here and just watch the stars with him and still find it relaxing. We called it a night quite early as we were exhausted from the long drive. As there was only one bed and we were both quite tall, we swiftly realized it was cramped. "I mean, I could use a cuddle buddy," he hinted. I simply shrugged, and at first we were both hesitant to scoot closer to one another. But once we finally gravitated towards one another, we fit like a glove. It felt so right that it made me question why we had never done this before. I fell asleep quickly that night, safe in his arms and wishing that it could stay that way forever. The next morning, we both woke up at the crack of dawn and decided to take a walk on the beach. Although I had a great night with him, I dared not admit it. Admitting it would make it real, I told myself, and I was very much in denial of what was going down between us. It was not until a girl at the beach started flirting with Kian did my blood boil and all the feelings that I did not want to confront rose to the surface. A blonde girl decked out in a bikini accidentally landed her frisbee right where we were sitting. We had borrowed a couple of lounging chairs and were sipping on our coffee, just enjoying the morning sun, when the bitch appeared. "Oops," she muttered, squatting right in front of Kian and essentially putting her boobs and ass in front of his face. She even deliberately brushed against him. "Hey, gorgeous, didn't see you down there." Kian was wide-mouthed and glanced at me. I was certain he saw my seething face. "Hi," he muttered. "Wanna come over and have some snacks?" The bombshell winked, pointing towards their group of bimbo friends. "He's taken," I intervened before Kian could answer. "By me." She glared at me before eyeing the both of us back and forth. "What a pity. Both of you are good-looking. Too bad you're gay. You're wasting your looks." "Hey," interrupted a lady nearby. "We don't tolerate your discrimination here. Get lost." Huffing, the blonde girl stormed off, and we thanked the lady for coming to our rescue. I heaved a sigh of relief and looked over at Kian, who was already staring at me. "I'm taken? Really, Ro? Do you only choose when you want me? You don't want to admit your feelings for me, but you don't want anyone else to have me either. Make up your mind," he ranted. He was right. I was in denial of my feelings and my sexuality. It was not fair for me. I've been an asshole, Kay. I take accountability for that, I admitted. "I'm sorry." He clucked his tongue and pulled me closer, taking my hand in his. "I know it's hard, and I know you're a smart guy. You can tell that I've been dropping hints, can't you?" he inquired. I nodded fervently and took a deep breath. It was now or never. I don't want anyone else to have you. You're absolutely right. I'm selfish in every sense of the word. And as much as I would be proud to have you, I'd never share you with anyone, I started, because I love you like that, and I hope you love me too. His eyes were brimming with tears as he pulled me close, leaning in for a kiss. The kiss was everything and more that I had hoped for. That first contact of our lips was gentle, and soon, it developed into a passionate kiss, as though we were fulfilling parts of us that were left unsatiated for a long time. I felt like I was finally letting go of a breath that I had been holding. "I have loved you since the moment I saw you, Rowen. I did not know until recently, but I sure felt it. I cannot be happier that you're mine." We headed back down to town that afternoon, both in a surreal bliss that we had finally admitted our feelings to one another. The road trip back felt even faster than the journey to the beach. I concluded that it was because we relished each other's company so much that time was always fleeting. Kian made sure to watch me until I reached my front door before he left for home. I had to stop momentarily and observe as he drove off. The road trip not only took us far, literally, but figuratively too, and I could not wait where the next step our relationship would take us. The following Monday, Kian fetched me from my house. He even bought us coffee, and before he finally drove to school, we stopped at a convenience store and ate a quick breakfast. It was nothing extravagant, but it felt right. "Coffee and my gorgeous boyfriend," he sighed. "What a better way to start the week." I smiled at his endearment, still unbelieving that we were together. Who could have known the road trip would change so much? "I wonder how Bree and Blair would react, though," I mumbled. He offered his hand to mine, and we finally headed to school. "I guess we'll find out." As we alighted from the car, I immediately spotted our two best friends seated at our usual bench just outside the school. My heart started pumping in my chest, and I became extremely nervous about our best friends' reactions. This could go both ways, and I could only pray that they accepted us. Kian must have sensed my anxiety as he offered to carry the books I was holding, and he then held my hand tightly with his free hand. "It'll be okay, love. Relax," he whispered as he planted a kiss on my forehead. I smiled and touched my nose to his. He always knew what to say. I was insanely lucky to have him. Brianna and Blair did not notice us until we were a stone's throw away. Blair was the one who spotted us, and in classic Blair fashion, she shrieked. Some onlookers glared at her, her high-pitched voice piercing the peaceful air in the morning. "Finally," she squealed. Brianna then looked over at us, her jaw dropped before she started shrieking too. "You two, it took long enough. My God, I thought it was never going to happen," Brianna shrieked. "So I take it that the road trip went well," winked Blair. Kian and I looked at each other before grinning broadly. "Beyond well," we said in unison. "How come you guys are more excited than us?" I asked as I plopped down. "Girl, we've been talking about you two since forever. You have crazy chemistry. I feel like everyone around you knew except for you two," Bree replied. "Right. It was right in front of you guys, but Bree was right. All you needed is a little push," Blair added. I raised my eyebrow. "A little push," Kian repeated. Brianna blushed as though their cover had been blown. "Well, you see, there was no musical. Our parents did not get us tickets, and we bailed out on the road trip at your own accord because we wanted to see you guys enjoy. Just the two of you." "You bitches," I said upon realization of the twins' plans. No wonder they looked like they had been scheming all week long. "I can't say I'm mad at you because it worked," said Kian, holding our intertwined hands up. All four of us chuckled, and I do not think I have ever felt happier. These four were my home, and they made what was a miserable life a very exciting and fulfilling one. They were my biggest reason why I got up in the morning. I was grateful for my new relationship with Kian, but I was even more so thankful for the eternal bond that I shared with my clique. We were a family, and that was something no one could ever take away from us. Now we have to plan another road trip. This time we're coming, of course, squealed Bree. That's right, no more bailing out on me and Rowen this time around, joked Kian. Me and Blair bailing out on you guys was the best that's ever happened to you. Give us credit, Bree teased. And she was right. Who could have known that our best friends bailing out on our much anticipated road trip would lead us to the love of our life? The end. Donate to us on Ko-fi to support our channel. Link in the description. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force and stay wholesome.